Andre Taylor wasn't always the kind of boss who kept his distance. When he first started Brightpath Technologies 5 years ago, he knew the name of every person who worked for him. He remembered their birthdays, their kids' names, and what they liked to eat for lunch. The small team of 12 felt like family back then, working out of a cramped office space they could barely afford, dreaming of changing the tech world with their innovative software solutions. Now, as Andre sat in his corner office on the top floor of the gleaming Brightpath headquarters, he felt a world away from those early days. The company had grown beyond his wildest dreams, with over 300 employees and a valuation that had investors calling daily. His schedule was packed with meetings with potential partners, interviews with business magazines, and strategy sessions with his executive team. Somewhere along the way, he had lost touch with the heart of his company. The thought had been nagging at him for months, but today it hit him like a punch to the gut. He stared at the resignation letter on his desk, submitted by Luis Chen, one of their most talented engineers, and one of the original 12 employees who had been with Andre from the beginning. The letter was respectful but honest, too honest. Luis wrote about a toxic culture of elitism that had infected the company, about seeing his ideas dismissed while similar suggestions from others were celebrated, about overhearing comments that made him feel unwelcome because of his background. "This isn't the company I thought I was helping to build," Luis had written, "and I don't think it's the one you wanted to build either." Andre leaned back in his chair and looked out at the San Francisco skyline. His reflection stared back at him from the window. Designer suit, perfectly trimmed beard, the picture of success. But Luis's words had shaken him. Had he been so caught up in growth and success that he'd allowed his company to lose its soul? He picked up his phone and called the one person he knew would give it to him straight. "Nia, can you come to my office?" he asked when his chief operating officer answered. Nia Washington had been with him almost since the beginning, the steady hand that kept things running while Andre was the dreamer pushing them forward. 10 minutes later, Nia sat across from him, her face concerned as she read Luis's letter. "Are you surprised?" she asked when she finished handing the letter back to him. "Honestly, yes and no," Andre admitted. "I felt something was off, but I thought maybe it was just growing pains. Normal corporate stuff. But this hits different. Because it's Luis? Partly. He was with us when we were nothing. But also because what he's describing," Andre struggled to find the words. "That's not who we are. That's not what Brightpath stands for. Maybe that's not who we were," Nia said gently. "But the question is, who are we now?" Andre nodded, the question settling heavy in his chest. "The management team, my team, they report everything's going great. Our numbers are up, we're hitting targets. But if what Luis is saying is true, then something's very wrong," Nia finished for him. "The question is, what are you going to do about it?" Andre stood up and paced across his office. "I need to know what's really happening. Not what people tell me in meetings or what shows up in reports. I need to see it with my own eyes." Nia raised an eyebrow. "What exactly are you thinking, Andre?" "Something a little unconventional," he said, a plan forming in his mind. "I need to see how people act when they don't think the boss is watching. I need to be in the rooms where people speak freely." "You want to spy on your own company?" Nia looked skeptical. "Not spy. Observe. I want to experience this place the way everyone else does." Andre's mind was racing now. "What if I worked here undercover for a week? Not as the CEO, but as someone invisible?" Nia's eyes widened. "Like who?" "You can't exactly hide that face. Half the tech world knows what you look like." Andre looked down at his expensive shoes, thinking about the people who moved through the building unseen every day. "Like a janitor," he said finally. "The cleaning crew comes in every evening. People barely look at them. They're in every room, hearing every conversation. You want to pretend to be a janitor in your own company?" Nia sounded incredulous. "Andre, that's crazy? Maybe. But I need to know the truth, Nia. If there's something rotten happening here, I need to see it for myself." Nia was quiet for a long moment. "You know this could backfire in a dozen different ways." "I know. But I also know I can't just sit in this office and pretend everything's fine." He picked up Luis's letter again. "I owe it to the people who believed in this company from the start. I owe it to everyone who works here now. What about the executive retreat next week? You're supposed to give the keynote." Andre smiled. "Perfect timing. Everyone will think I'm at the mountain resort preparing my speech. You'll go in my place, make excuses about me having laryngitis or something. And while I'm covering for you at the retreat, you'll be here, mopping floors? Nia still looked doubtful, and listening, and watching. Andre felt more certain with each passing minute. I need to know if Luis's experience was isolated or if there's a deeper problem. Nia sighed, but Andre could see she was coming around. You'll need help. A disguise, a backstory, someone to get you hired through the cleaning company. That's why I called you first, Andre said, grateful for her quick mind. Can you make this happen? Without anyone else knowing? It won't be easy. You'll need to look completely different, and you'll have to be prepared for what you might hear. People say things when they think no one important is listening. That's exactly what I'm counting on, Andre said grimly. As the sun set outside his window, Andre and Nia began to plan his undercover mission. They would need to transform his appearance, create a believable cover story, and arrange for him to be hired through the contract cleaning company. It would take careful planning and perfect timing. Andre thought about the company he had built from nothing, about the values of equality, innovation, and respect that had been its foundation. Had those values been lost along the way? And if they had, was it too late to get them back? As Nia left his office to make the necessary arrangements, Andre looked again at his reflection in the window. Next week, that successful CEO would disappear, replaced by someone invisible to the powerful. And in that invisibility, he hoped to find the truth. He picked up Luis's resignation letter one more time. I'm going to find out what's really happening, he promised quietly. And if something's broken, I'm going to fix it. Little did Andre know that what he would discover in the coming days would change everything. Not just for him, but for everyone at BrightPath Technologies. 3 days later, Andre stood in front of the bathroom mirror in Nia's apartment, barely recognizing the man who stared back at him. Gone was the clean-shaven, polished tech CEO. In his place stood a middle-aged man with a scruffy salt-and-pepper beard, hair that looked like it hadn't seen a proper barber in months, and thick-framed glasses that changed the shape of his face. Hold still, Nia said, applying spirit gum to attach the final pieces of the fake beard. This needs to last through a full shift of work. We can't have your disguise falling off in the middle of the executive floor. Andre winced at the pulling sensation. How do actors do this every day? They get paid millions to put up with it, Nia replied, stepping back to examine her work. You, on the other hand, are paying for the privilege of looking like you slept on a park bench. Andre turned his head from side to side, impressed despite the discomfort. I wouldn't recognize me. You missed your calling as a makeup artist. I spent 3 summers doing theater in college, Nia said, packing away the makeup kit. Never thought those skills would come in handy for corporate espionage. It's not espionage, Andre protested. It's quality control. Nia gave him a look. Whatever helps you sleep at night, boss. She handed him a worn backpack and a lunchbox that had seen better days. Your uniform is in here. The cleaning company thinks you're Raymond Jefferson, my uncle who needs work after moving to the city. You start tonight at 6 p.m. right after most of the staff leaves. Andre took the backpack, suddenly feeling the weight of what he was about to do. What if someone recognizes me? They won't, Nia assured him. People see what they expect to see. No one expects the janitor to be the billionaire CEO whose name is on the building. Just keep your head down, do the work, and listen. What about the actual cleaning? I've never done professional janitorial work before. That's why you're starting with Miguel. He's been with the cleaning company for years, knows the building inside and out. I told them you needed training. He'll show you the ropes. Nia handed him a battered flip phone. Use this to contact me, not your usual phone. And remember, Raymond has a slight limp from an old construction injury. Andre practiced the limp, feeling awkward. Like this? Less dramatic. You hurt your knee, you're not auditioning for a pirate movie. She watched him adjust the limp and nodded. Better. Now Miguel thinks you're just an ordinary guy down on his luck. He has no idea what's really going on, so stick to the story we created. Andre sat down heavily on Nia's couch. The reality of what he was about to do was sinking in. Do you think this is crazy, Nia? Be honest, she sat beside him, considering the question. Unconventional? Definitely. Risky? Absolutely. But crazy? She shook her head. No, what's crazy is building a company based on respect and equality, then potentially letting it become something else without even knowing. What's crazy is sitting in your office wondering, what's wrong instead of finding out for yourself. This She gestured to his disguise. This is actually pretty brave. Andre wasn't sure if he felt brave. Mostly he felt nervous. What am I going to find out, Nia? I don't know, she said honestly. Maybe nothing. Maybe Luis was the exception, not the rule. But if there is something wrong with how our company treats people, don't you want to know? He nodded. I do. I need to know. Then Raymond Jefferson needs to get changed. Your shift starts in 2 hours. The employee entrance at the back of BrightPath Technologies felt completely different from the grand lobby Andre usually walked through. The door was utilitarian, with a simple keypad lock that Miguel showed him how to use. The small break room where the cleaning staff gathered was nothing like the sleek cafeteria on the main floors, with its chef-prepared meals and espresso bar. First day jitters? Miguel asked, noticing Andre's silence as they prepared their cleaning carts. A little, Andre admitted, loading bottles of cleaning solution onto the lower shelf of the cart. It's been a while since I started a new job. Miguel patted him on the shoulder. Don't worry. Cleaning is cleaning. The fancy tech people make messes just like everybody else, he laughed. Maybe even worse. Those programmers with their energy drinks and snack foods, man. You'll see. Andre smiled, already learning something about his company he'd never known before. How long have you been cleaning here? 3 years, Miguel said proudly. Since they opened this building. Before that, I was at their old office downtown. Smaller place, but sometimes I miss it. Everyone knew each other then. The big boss, Taylor, he would say hello to everyone. Even knew my name. Andre nearly dropped the roll of paper towels he was holding. Really? Oh yeah. Good guy. Would ask about my kids, remember their ages and everything. Don't see him much these days. Too busy being important, I guess. Miguel shrugged, no judgment in his voice. That's how it goes. Companies get big, things change. The word stung more than Andre expected. Had he really become so distant from his own company that the people who kept it running felt forgotten by him? All right, Raymond, Miguel said, finishing his cart preparation. Tonight we do the executive floor. All the big shots. They stay late sometimes, so we gotta be invisible, you know? In and out, quick and quiet. Don't make eye contact. Don't interrupt their fancy meetings, Andre nodded, feeling strangely nervous about entering his own executive floor as someone else. As they rode the service elevator up, Miguel gave him more advice. These executives, they don't see us. We're like furniture to them. Sometimes they say things. Personal things, work things. Like we're not even there. Just ignore it, okay? Not our business. They talk like you're not in the room, Andre asked, feeling his stomach knot. Miguel laughed. Man, half the time I think they don't even know we're breathing the same air. Makes the job easier, though. No small talk. The elevator doors opened on the 30th floor, the executive level. Andre had been here countless times, but never like this. Never pushing a cleaning cart, wearing a uniform, feeling the weight of invisibility that Miguel had described. Executive offices first, Miguel instructed. Most of them have gone home, but check before entering. Knock once, wait, then go in. If someone's there, just say cleaning and see if they wave you in or tell you to come back later. Andre followed Miguel down the hallway, past the assistants' desks and toward the row of offices that belonged to his leadership team. The floor was quieter than during the day, but not empty. Through glass walls, he could see a few executives still at their desks or talking on phones. That's the CFO's office, Miguel said, pointing to an office that Andre obviously knew belonged to David Chen. He's nice. Always says thank you. The one next to him, the marketing lady, not so much. Acts like we're bothering her by doing our job. Andre made a mental note. Lisa Patel, his chief marketing officer, had always seemed professional and polite in their interactions. Was she different when he wasn't around? Whose office is that? Andre asked, pointing to his own corner office, testing Miguel. That's the big boss, Taylor. CEO, Miguel said with reverence. We saved that for last. His assistant is super protective of his space. We need special permission to go in there when he's away. Andre felt a flash of gratitude toward his assistant, Keisha, for her loyalty, but also wondered if perhaps she was too protective, creating distance between him and the rest of the company. As they worked their way through the floor, Andre discovered the physical labor of cleaning was harder than he'd expected. His back ached from emptying heavy trash bins, and the constant bending and stretching to wipe surfaces and vacuum corners made his muscles burn. How had he never noticed how much work went into keeping his company clean? But more eye-opening than the physical demands were the conversations he overheard as he and Miguel moved invisibly through the space. In one conference room, a group of mid-level managers continued a meeting well into the evening, never acknowledging the two men who entered to clean the trash bins and wipe down the whiteboards. "I don't care if the diversity numbers look bad," one manager was saying as Andre bent to empty a bin. "We need the best people, not the right colors in our team photo." "HR is pushing hard, though," another voice responded. "They want us to interview more diverse candidates for the developer roles." "So interview them," came the dismissive reply. "Doesn't mean we have to hire them. Look, between us, these diversity initiatives are just for show. Taylor needs them for the press, for the investors. We're the ones who have to build actual functioning teams." Andre felt his face growing hot beneath his fake beard. Was this how his diversity efforts were viewed? As empty PR exercises to be worked around rather than embraced? Miguel nudged him, sensing his distraction. "Keep moving," he whispered. "Don't listen too much. It'll just make you mad." But listening was exactly why Andre was there, and as the night continued, he heard more than enough to make him not just mad, but heartbroken about what his company had become. By the time they reached his own office at the end of the night, Andre's mind was reeling from all he had witnessed. The casual dismissal of company values by those paid to uphold them, the disrespect shown to staff seen as lower level, the blatant undermining of initiatives he had personally championed. And it was only his first night. As Miguel showed him how to properly dust the awards and accolades that lined his office shelves, Andre looked at the framed photos of himself with celebrities, politicians, and business leaders. In every image, he was smiling, successful, celebrated. "Big important guy," Miguel commented, carefully wiping the frame of a magazine cover featuring Andre's face. "Probably has no idea what really goes on around here." Andre couldn't have agreed more. By his third day undercover, Andre had settled into a routine. Each evening, he would arrive at Nia's apartment to transform into Raymond Jefferson, then make his way to Bright Path headquarters for his 6 p.m. to 2 a.m. shift. The physical demands of the job no longer surprised him, though his muscles still protested after hours of bending, lifting, and scrubbing. What continued to shock him were the revelations about his company culture that unfolded like a slow-motion car crash he couldn't look away from. Tonight, Miguel had assigned him to clean the finance department on the 28th floor. "They're having some big budget meeting," Miguel explained. "Probably run late. Just work around them, okay?" Andre pushed his cart off the service elevator, the now familiar feeling of invisibility settling over him as he moved through the space. The finance team occupied a large open area, with glass-walled conference rooms around the perimeter. In the largest of these rooms, he could see David Chen, his CFO, standing at the head of a table surrounded by his team, pointing at figures projected on a screen. Andre kept his head down as he emptied trash bins and wiped down empty desks, but positioned himself to overhear the meeting through the partially open door. They were discussing the upcoming fiscal year budget, a meeting Andre himself was scheduled to join next week. "These diversity program costs are getting out of hand," David was saying, highlighting a line item on the screen. "We're spending almost twice what we budgeted last year." "Taylor won't budge on it," said a woman Andre recognized as the finance director.
"He's obsessed with these initiatives," David snorted.
"Taylor lives in dreamland. He wants to win all these diversity awards. Get his picture in Fortune magazine shaking hands with community leaders, but he doesn't understand what it does to our bottom line." Andre froze, trash bag in hand, hardly believing what he was hearing from his CFO, a man who in meetings with Andre had always enthusiastically supported the company's diversity initiatives. "So what do we do?" another team member asked. David lowered his voice, forcing Andre to edge closer to the door under the pretense of cleaning nearby surfaces. "We reallocate. On paper, the budget for these programs stays the same, but we structure it so some of that money gets diverted to actual revenue-generating activities." "Won't Taylor notice?" "Ush," David laughed. "When was the last time Taylor actually looked at a detailed financial report? He sees the summary I give him, trusts the rest. As long as we show some nice pie charts with the right colors in his quarterly review, he's happy." The casual deception stunned Andre. He had always prided himself on building a transparent company culture. Now he realized that his trust had been weaponized against him, used to undermine the very initiatives he valued most. As the meeting continued, Andre moved around the outer office, cleaning methodically while his mind raced. When had this started? How widespread was this deception? And most troublingly, had he somehow enabled it by becoming too distant from the details of his own company? A young man approached from the hallway, carrying a stack of reports. He nodded at Andre without really seeing him, then entered the conference room. "Sorry I'm late. I've got the regional breakdowns you asked for." "About time, Raj," David said dismissively. "Put them there. We're discussing how to handle the diversity budget." The young man, Raj, hesitated. "Actually, I had some thoughts about that. My team put together a proposal for making the diversity initiatives more effective, while potentially reducing costs. It's data-driven, based on outcomes from other tech companies, and—" "Did I ask for a proposal?" David cut him off coldly. "No, but I thought—" "That's the problem, Raj. We don't pay you to think. We pay you to run numbers. When we want your ideas on company strategy, we'll ask for them." David turned back to the screen, effectively dismissing Raj, who stood frozen for a moment before quietly placing his reports on the table and leaving the room. Andre watched the young man walk away, shoulders slumped. Without thinking, he followed him down the hallway, abandoning his cleaning cart. "Hey," Andre called softly, his voice pitched in Raymond's slightly deeper tone. "You okay?" Raj turned, surprised to be addressed by a member of the cleaning staff. "Yeah, fine." He forced a smile that didn't reach his eyes. "Just another day in paradise. Seemed like they shut you down pretty hard back there." Raj looked at Andre more carefully, perhaps wondering why a janitor was taking an interest. Then his professional mask slipped just for a moment. "It's nothing new. I've been here 3 years, have an MBA from Stanford, but apparently my ideas aren't worth hearing." "Because?" Andre let the question hang. "Take a guess," Raj said bitterly. "I'm not part of the club here. Never will be." He glanced back toward the conference room. "I should get back before they notice I'm gone." "Thanks for checking, though. Most people around here don't even see the cleaning staff." As Raj walked away, Andre felt a cold weight settling in his stomach. The interaction confirmed what he'd been piecing together over the past few days. The company he'd founded was operating with an unspoken hierarchy that had nothing to do with merit or ideas, and everything to do with who you were and who you knew. The rest of his shift revealed more troubling patterns. In the marketing department, he overheard Lisa Patel, his CMO, instructing her team to shelve a campaign featuring diverse customers in favor of more aspirational imagery. On the product development floor, he watched as suggestions from junior team members were ignored or claimed by more senior staff. And most disturbingly, in the break room used by the executive team, he witnessed conversations about employees that were so dismissive and sometimes cruel that it made his blood boil. Late that night, as he cleaned the executive bathroom, Andre heard voices approaching and quickly stepped into a stall, closing the door most of the way but leaving a crack to see through. His COO of product, Tom Wilson, entered with the VP of engineering, both laughing about something. "Did you see Taylor's email about the new mentorship program?" Tom asked as he washed his hands. "Another brilliant initiative from our fearless leader. Let me guess, more diversity focus?" The VP responded with a smirk. "Bingo. Wants us to pair up incoming diverse employees with executive mentors. Says it will create pathways to leadership or some BS like that. So I've got to waste my time hand-holding some diversity hire who wouldn't have made it through the door 5 years ago." Tom chuckled. "Just do what I'm going to do. Pick someone who looks good on paper, meet with them once a month for coffee, and forget about them the rest of the time. Taylor will get his PR moment and we can get back to actual work." Andre gripped the edge of the toilet paper dispenser so hard his knuckles turned white. These men were mocking a program he had personally developed after months of research showing how effective mentorship could be in creating more equitable advancement opportunities. "You think Taylor actually believes all this diversity stuff? Or is he just playing the game?" the VP asked. Tom considered the question. "Bit of both, probably. He came up poor, got lucky with his first startup. Now he's got a guilty conscience about his success. Plus, it's good PR. Tech companies with high diversity scores get better press, better valuations. Well, as long as he stays up in his ivory tower and lets us run things day to day, he can believe whatever he wants." The men left, their laughter echoing in the tiled room. Andre emerged from the stall, hands shaking with anger. Was that how his executive team viewed him? As a naive idealist to be humored and worked around? As someone with a guilty conscience whose values were just for show? He stared at his reflection in the bathroom mirror, the disguised version of himself, the invisible man. For the first time, he wondered if this Raymond Jefferson might actually see the truth of BrightPath Technologies more clearly than Andre Taylor ever had. Back in the janitor's closet where he took his break, Andre called Nia on the flip phone she'd given him. "It's worse than we thought," he said without preamble when she answered. "Way worse." "Tell me," she said, and he could hear papers rustling in the background. She was still at the executive retreat, covering for his absence. For the next 15 minutes, Andre detailed everything he'd seen and heard over the past 3 days. The financial deceptions, the mockery of diversity initiatives, the casual cruelty toward employees seen as different or lesser. And the worst part? He finished, his voice hoarse with emotion. "They're doing it all in my name, using my trust against me, making my vision into a joke." Nia was quiet for a long moment. "I suspected things weren't great, but this..." She sighed heavily. "What are you going to do?" Andre looked down at his janitor's uniform, at the hands that had spent the last 3 days cleaning up after people who thought they were too important to see him. "I'm going to finish what I started. 2 more days as Raymond Jefferson. I need to understand exactly how deep this goes, see who's part of the problem and who might be part of the solution. And then Raymond Jefferson disappears and Andre Taylor comes back with a vengeance." After hanging up, Andre sat alone in the small closet that smelled of industrial cleaners and mop water, planning what would come next. He'd built BrightPath Technologies from nothing, pouring his heart and soul and vision into every aspect of it. Somehow, when he wasn't looking, others had taken that vision and twisted it, hollowed it out, turned it into something he barely recognized. He wouldn't let it stand, couldn't let it stand. The company needed a reset, back to the values it was founded on. And that would mean difficult decisions about who belonged in its future and who did not. As he gathered his cleaning supplies to finish his shift, Andre felt a strange sense of calm replacing his earlier anger. He now understood what needed to be done. The company hadn't lost its way. It had been led astray by people who never truly shared its vision. People who would soon discover that underestimating the janitor had been their biggest mistake. The morning sun streamed through the windows of BrightPath Technologies' main conference room as the executive team filed in for their weekly leadership meeting. The atmosphere was relaxed with casual conversation and laughter as people grabbed coffee and pastries from the side table. None of them noticed anything unusual about the meeting being moved up a day from its regular Thursday slot. David Chen, the CFO, checked his watch. "Anyone know why Taylor called this meeting early?" "I thought he was still at the mountain retreat." Lisa Patel shrugged as she stirred cream into her coffee. "Nia said he came back yesterday. Something about wanting to discuss the quarterly strategy before the board meeting next week." "Great," Tom Wilson muttered. "Another 2 hours of diversity initiatives and community outreach when we should be focusing on the product roadmap." The room quieted as the door opened, expecting to see Andre. Instead, Nia Washington entered, her expression unreadable as she took a seat near the head of the table. She placed a laptop in front of her and opened it without greeting anyone. "Where's Taylor?" David asked, checking his watch again. "He'll be here," Nia replied, not looking up from her screen. The atmosphere in the room shifted slightly. Something about Nia's tone made several executives exchange glances. Before anyone could ask another question, the door opened again. Andre Taylor walked in, dressed in one of his usual impeccable suits, looking exactly as he always did, except for the cold determination in his eyes. Without a word, he took his place at the head of the table and surveyed the room, his gaze lingering momentarily on each executive's face. "Good morning," he finally said, his voice controlled and even. "Thank you all for accommodating the schedule change." "No problem, Andre," David said with an easy smile. "How was the retreat?" "Nia said you had to leave early." "I wasn't at the retreat," Andre said simply. A confused silence fell over the room. Tom cleared his throat. "But Nia told you what I asked her to tell you," Andre interrupted. He looked at his COO with a nod of acknowledgement. "She was covering for me while I was otherwise occupied." The executives exchanged puzzled glances. "I've spent the last week working as a janitor in this building," Andre continued, his voice matter of fact. The silence that followed was deafening. David Chen laughed nervously, looking around the table as if waiting for others to join in on what must be a joke. When no one did, his smile faltered. "I'm sorry. What did you say?" Lisa asked, her coffee cup frozen halfway to her lips. You heard me correctly, Andre said. For the past 5 days, I've been working the evening shift as part of the cleaning crew, from 6 p.m. to 2 a.m. I've cleaned your offices, emptied your trash, and wiped down your conference rooms. Including this one. He ran a finger along the gleaming table surface. I did a good job, didn't I? The executive stared at him in stunned silence, disbelief written across their faces. Why would you do that? Tom finally asked, his voice strained. Andre leaned forward. Because I received a resignation letter from Louise Chen that deeply troubled me. Because I've been feeling disconnected from the day-to-day reality of this company. Because I wanted to see how BrightPath Technologies functions when no one thinks the founder is watching. He nodded to Nia, who tapped a few keys on her laptop. The large screen at the end of the conference room came to life, displaying a video. It showed the finance department conference room, the same meeting Andre had observed as Raymond Jefferson just 3 days ago. These diversity program costs are getting out of hand. David's voice came clearly through the speakers. The video continued, capturing his comments about reallocating funds and deceiving Andre with pie charts with the right colors. David's face drained of color. You recorded us? That's illegal. Actually, it's not, Nia interjected calmly. BrightPath Technologies' security policy, which you all signed, clearly states that all public areas of the building are subject to video and audio surveillance for security purposes. Conference rooms are public areas. We simply accessed existing security footage. Before David could respond, the video changed to show Tom and the VP of Engineering in the executive bathroom, laughing about the mentorship program and how to undermine it while appearing to comply. One by one, videos played showing different executives and senior managers dismissing company values, mocking diversity efforts, planning to circumvent policies, and speaking disparagingly about employees, particularly those from underrepresented groups. As each new clip played, the room grew more tense. Some executives stared at the table, unable to meet Andre's gaze. Others glared defiantly. Lisa Patel had tears in her eyes. When the final video ended, Andre let the silence hang heavy in the room before speaking. When I founded this company, I had a vision, not just for innovative technology, but for a different kind of workplace, one where merit mattered more than background, where diverse perspectives were valued because they make us better, where people treated each other with respect at every level. He looked around the table. Somewhere along the way, that vision was corrupted. Andre, David began, his voice placating. These videos show isolated moments taken out of context. We're under tremendous pressure to deliver results. Save it. Andre cut him off. I wasn't just watching video feeds, David, I was there. In the room. Hearing not just what you said, but how you said it. Seeing how you treated people when you thought no one who mattered was watching. He shook his head. And it wasn't isolated. It was pervasive, systematic, so what now? Tom asked, an edge to his voice. You're going to fire us all because we didn't live up to some impossible ideal? Good luck running this company without a leadership team. Andre smiled, but there was no warmth in it. That's exactly what I'm going to do. Effective immediately, every person in this room, with the exception of Nia, is terminated from BrightPath Technologies. The explosion of protests was immediate. Voices overlapped as executives objected, threatened legal action, demanded explanations. Andre held up his hand, and something in his expression silenced them. This isn't a negotiation. You're welcome to contact our legal team about the terms of your separation, which will be generous, provided you sign the non-disclosure agreements Nia has prepared. But your time at this company is over. You can't just replace an entire executive team overnight, Lisa protested, finding her voice. The company will fall apart. The board will never stand for it. I've already spoken to the board, Andre replied calmly. I showed them everything I found this week. They've given me their full support. This wasn't entirely true. He had only spoken to the board chair, who had been deeply disturbed by what Andre shared and promised to back him with the full board. But Andre knew the other executives didn't need to know that detail. As for replacing you, he continued, I've spent the past 5 days not just cleaning floors, but watching how this company really works. I've seen who actually keeps things running, who has the ideas, who treats others with respect, who lives our values even when no one is looking. He nodded to Nia, who displayed a new slide with names and photographs. These are the people who will be stepping into leadership roles. The executives stared at the screen in disbelief. The list included middle managers, team leads, and even some junior employees. A diverse group representing various departments, backgrounds, and levels of experience. Raj Singh? David scoffed, pointing to the first name on the list. The junior financial analyst. You're making him CFO? Acting CFO, Andre corrected. And yes, the same Raj whose data-driven proposal for making our diversity initiatives more effective, while potentially reducing costs, you dismissed, without even looking at it. The proposal, by the way, was brilliant. I reviewed it last night, Tom shook his head. This is a mistake. These people don't have the experience done. They have exactly the experience we need, Andre interrupted. They know this company from the ground up. They've been doing the work, generating the ideas and upholding the values that you all have been undermining. He stood up, buttoning his suit jacket in a gesture of finality. Security is waiting outside. You'll be escorted to your offices to collect personal belongings, then off the premises. Your access to company systems has already been revoked. You'll regret this, David said, his voice low and threatening. We built this company as much as you did. Andre looked at him for a long moment. No, David, you didn't. You were well-compensated employees who were entrusted with something precious, a company with a mission and values, and you betrayed that trust. He gestured to the door. We're done here. One by one, the executives stood, some storming out, others leaving in stunned silence. Lisa paused at the door, turning back to Andre with tears still in her eyes. I believed in your vision once, she said quietly. I'm sorry I lost sight of it. Andre nodded, acknowledging her words but offering no reprieve. When the room was empty except for him and Nia, he sat back down heavily, the weight of what he had just done settling on his shoulders. Well, Nia said after a moment. That was certainly dramatic. A small smile tugged at the corner of Andre's mouth. Was it too much? Not at all. It was exactly what needed to happen. She closed her laptop. Are you ready for phase 2? Andre took a deep breath and nodded. Let's rebuild this company. The right way this time. As they left the conference room, they passed a member of the cleaning staff wiping down the glass walls of a nearby office. Andre stopped. Good morning, he said, extending his hand. I'm Andre Taylor. I don't think we've met properly. The surprised custodian shook his hand, glancing uncertainly at Nia. Andre is making it a priority to know everyone who works here, Nia explained with a smile. Starting today, Andre added, no one at BrightPath Technologies is invisible anymore. 6 months after what became known around BrightPath Technologies as the Reset, Andre Taylor stood in the company cafeteria, watching employees from all departments mingle during the weekly community lunch he had instituted. The nervous energy that had permeated the building in the weeks following the executive team's dramatic departure had gradually transformed into something new. A sense of possibility, of renewal, and most importantly, of belonging. Quite a change from 6 months ago, Nia commented, joining him with a plate of food. Remember when different departments wouldn't even sit together? Andre nodded, taking in the scene. Engineers chatted with marketing staff. Customer support specialists shared tables with product designers. The rigid hierarchy that had once defined the company's culture was dissolving, replaced by a collaborative spirit he hadn't seen since the early startup days. How was your morning in customer support? Nia asked, referring to Andre's newest initiative. Enlightening, he replied. I had no idea how many feature requests come through those channels. Patel from the support team showed me how they categorize and track them. We're missing opportunities there. Andre's In Your Shoes program, where he spent 1 day each month working in different departments and roles throughout the company, had become one of his most successful new policies. From the mailroom to product testing, he had experienced firsthand the challenges and insights of employees at every level. And he wasn't the only one. All leadership team members were now required to participate. Raj is looking for you, by the way, Nia said between bites. Something about the quarterly financials. Andre smiled at the mention of his new CFO. Raj Singh had exceeded all expectations, bringing both financial rigor and innovative thinking to the role. His promotion from junior analyst to the executive team had sent a powerful message. Throughout the company, merit and alignment with company values mattered more than tenure or traditional career paths. I'll catch up with him after lunch, Andre said. But first I want to check in with the new hires at table 3. It's their first community lunch. As he made his way across the cafeteria, several employees greeted him by name. Gone was the distant CEO who existed only in all-hands meetings and company-wide emails. In his place was a leader who knew the names of the security guards at the front desk, who could be found getting his own coffee in the break room, and who was just as likely to sit in on a junior team's brainstorming session as an executive strategy meeting. The transformation hadn't been easy. The weeks following the reset had been chaotic, with acting leaders stepping into roles they weren't fully prepared for, and projects temporarily stalling as new teams formed. The press had been relentless, with industry publications speculating about everything from Andre's mental health to impending company collapse. Competitors had tried to poach talent, spreading rumors about BrightPath's instability. But something unexpected had happened amidst the chaos. Employees who had felt overlooked or undervalued suddenly found their ideas welcomed. Teams that had been siloed began collaborating. The company's core values, once just words on a wall, became guiding principles for daily decisions. Andre reached the table of new hires, pulling up a chair. "Mind if I join you?" The 5 new employees looked surprised but pleased, making room for the CEO. Andre spent the next 20 minutes learning about their backgrounds, their first impressions of the company, and their ideas for their roles. One young woman, hesitant at first, eventually shared an insight about the onboarding process that made Andre reach for his phone to make a note. "That's a great point, Zoe," he said. "Would you be willing to join the team that's revamping our onboarding? We need that perspective." Her face lit up at being taken seriously by the CEO in her first week. "Absolutely." After lunch, Andre headed to Raj's office for their meeting. The space that had once been David Chen's lavish corner suite had been transformed. Raj had declined the excessive luxury, instead converting half the square footage into a collaborative financial planning area where his team could work together. "There he is," Raj said with a grin as Andre entered. The janitor who became king. It had become a running joke between them, one that Raj, who had been among the first to learn the full story of Andre's undercover week, particularly enjoyed. "Very funny," Andre replied good-naturedly. "Nia said you wanted to see me about the quarterly numbers?" "Yes, but not for the reason you might think." Raj gestured to his screen. "We're up, way up. Revenue increased 15% over last quarter, and our profit margins are the highest they've been in 2 years. Andre raised his eyebrows. "Even with all the changes? The new parental leave policy? The professional development budget increases? Especially because of those changes," Raj corrected him. "Retention is up 40%. Do you know how much money we're saving on recruitment and training? And the productivity metrics?" He spun his laptop to show Andre a graph with a sharp upward trajectory. "People are doing the best work of their careers." Andre studied the numbers, a weight lifting from his shoulders that he hadn't fully realized was there. The board had supported his radical moves, but he knew their patience had limits. These results would silence any lingering doubts. "There's more," Raj continued, pulling up another screen. "Remember that diversity initiative budget that David was planning to quietly redistribute? We not only maintained it, we expanded it by implementing my original proposal. The return on investment has been stunning." He showed Andre the figures: increased diverse hiring at all levels, higher retention of underrepresented groups, and most importantly, measurable business impacts in terms of innovation, market reach, and customer satisfaction. "Turns out, running a company according to its stated values is actually good business," Raj said with a satisfied smile. "Who knew?" Andre laughed, but the vindication ran deep. "Send me the full report. I want to share this with the board." "Already in your inbox," Raj replied. "Oh, and one more thing. Luis Chen called me yesterday." Andre's expression turned serious at the mention of the engineer whose resignation had sparked his undercover mission. "What did he want?" "To talk about coming back. Said he's been hearing good things about the new BrightPath." Andre nodded thoughtfully. "Set up the meeting. I'd like to talk to him myself." As Andre left Raj's office, he took a detour through the engineering floor. The space hummed with focused energy. Teams gathered around whiteboards and monitors, engaged in the kind of collaborative problem-solving he had always envisioned for his company. He noticed a janitorial cart near the elevators and paused. Miguel was carefully cleaning the glass doors of a conference room, his movements efficient after years of practice. "Afternoon, Miguel," Andre greeted him. Miguel smiled in recognition. "Mr. Taylor, how are you today?" "Good, really good, actually. How's your son doing with his college applications?" Miguel's face brightened. "Manuel got accepted to UC Berkeley. Engineering program just like he always wanted. That's fantastic. The scholarship program application deadline is coming up. Make sure he applies. I'd be happy to write him a recommendation." "Thank you, sir." "He's already working on it." Miguel hesitated, then added, "Things are different around here now. Better." Andre nodded. "I'm glad you think so." "People look at us differently," Miguel continued, gesturing to his cart. "They say thank you, learn our names. Some even clean up after themselves a little." He chuckled. "Not enough to put me out of a job, but still it's nice. Everyone matters here, Miguel. That's what I wanted from the beginning." As Andre continued to his office, he reflected on how close he had come to losing his company. Not to market forces or competition, but to a culture that had evolved in opposition to its founding values. The week he spent as Raymond Jefferson had been a wake-up call, one that had ultimately saved BrightPath Technologies. In his office, mine which was now smaller, having donated part of the original space to create a mentorship meeting area, Andre found Nia waiting with a journalist from Business Insider. "Sorry I'm late," he apologized. "I was talking with the new hires, then Raj, then got caught up with Miguel from the cleaning staff." The journalist looked surprised. "You know your janitor's name?" Andre exchanged a knowing look with Nia, before turning back to the journalist with a smile. "I know all of them, actually. In fact, I spent a week doing their job. It's quite a story, if you'd like to hear it." 6 months after disguising himself as a janitor in his own company, Andre Taylor had not only fired his management team and rebuilt his company culture from the ground up, he had created something revolutionary in the tech industry. A company where titles mattered less than contributions, where diversity wasn't just a PR initiative, but a core business strategy, where no one was invisible. And it had all started with a resignation letter, a disguise, and the courage to see his company through different eyes. As the journalist set up her recorder, eager for what promised to be a compelling cover story, Andre glanced at the framed photo he now kept on his desk. It showed him in his janitor's uniform standing next to Miguel, both men smiling at the camera. It was taken on his last day undercover, though Miguel hadn't known the significance at the time. The caption beneath the photo read, "Never forget where you came from, or who really keeps things running." It was a lesson Andre Taylor would never forget again.